Dr. Donald is, as you've heard, an associate professor in the Department of Geography here at Queen's, with degrees in history, environmental studies, planning and geography from McGill, York and Toronto, respectively. She teaches and conducts research on the urban creative economy and has many publications, the most recent of which are in Economic Geography, Environment and Planning A, and also Space and Polity. She is a registered professional planner. Dr. Donald has two SSHRC-funded research projects, one on the creative class politics in Toronto and Boston, the other on the urban creative food economy. She's received a number of awards for her research, including the Governor General's Gold Medal for Academic Excellence. As a visiting scholar at Harvard, at the Rappaport Institute for Greater Boston, the Kennedy School of Government, Dr. Donald has been examining the politics of the new economy in Boston. It's a great privilege and a great pleasure to have Betsy Donald as a member of the Knowledge Impact in Society project team. And I would ask that you would welcome Betsy as Betsy kicks this final session off.
Take this. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am the moderator, and thank you, Yolande, for that nice introduction. So we're very lucky here to have a distinguished panel of both academics and people who are active in the field. I'll begin with essentially what we've decided is we've got six sort of major discussion topics. The first one is the first, and I think the most important, just economic development models and strategies. What unique hurdles does Eastern Ontario have to develop a healthy economy? What are our opportunities? The second one is on tourism and branding strategies. The third is on developing value-added products. The fourth is really looking at the potential for the green and creative and innovative economy. Obviously, we're under tremendous transition, and Eastern Ontario has to be at the forefront of that. Fifth, we're going to try and look at business financing, and finally looking at how do we enhance our downtowns, as many small communities have lost the vibrancy of their downtown. How can we attract businesses to the downtown core again? So let me begin. I think what we're going to do is just start with the first question and probably spend 5 or so minutes on that, go through the panel, and then at the end we will open it up for discussion. So the last 15 to 20 minutes we will have questions from the floor. So I'll begin by introducing Ms. Kim Wingrove. She is currently the Director of Regional Economic Development with the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade. Prior to this appointment, she served as Director of Communities in Transition, as well as several years as the Director of Rural Programs with the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. She resides in Guelph and has done a tremendous amount of work working with communities, associations and sector organizations to deal with economic challenges. So welcome, Kim. Next to her is Dr. Alison Blais-Palmer. Alison Blais-Palmer is an assistant professor at Wilfrid Laurier University, where she does research on food systems and sustainable economic development. She has a recent book out from Ashgate Press, a very well-received international book called Food Fears, where she's looking at a transition of the food economy from industrial to sustainable food systems. She recently was awarded a SSHRC grant to develop a report card for sustainable food systems in Canada and food relocalization. She teaches courses in regional economic development, global food security, globalization and research methods. Alison and I have a long history, and it's great to see her back, a very good history. We also have Mr. Craig Desjardins, who is the Executive Director of the Prince Edward Leamington and Addington Community Futures Development Corporation. I've had the privilege of working with Craig on numerous projects in the last few years, and he is a real go-getter, as many of you know, and the real leader behind many of these innovative projects that are going on right now in Eastern Ontario. He is also a city councillor. He has been a city councillor for the last 14 years in the corporation of the City of Quinte West. He also is a Queen's alumni. He has a Master's of Business Administration from Queen's. Welcome, Craig. And finally, Norm was supposed, we have Anne-Marie Keller, who is stepping in for Norm, and she is a community economic development consultant with the Ontario Ministry of Food and Rural Affairs out of Belleville, and she has many years experience in community economic development. So welcome, panel. So why don't we start off with you, Kim, if you could reflect a little bit on that first question. What are the unique hurdles that Eastern Ontario has to overcome to develop a healthy economy?
Thanks very much. I think while Eastern Ontario does have its own unique characteristics and its own unique challenges, there are some things I would say are common across this province. And one of those, and given that I'm at a university right now, seems appropriate, is the labor force development question. I don't think there's a place in Ontario right now that doesn't have a significant challenge when it comes to developing a labor force that is going to be able to meet the challenges of a new economy. And probably we can get into some details around that a little bit later on. When it comes to unique challenges for Eastern Ontario, for some sectors, you are simply on the wrong side of Toronto. And so the movement of goods, transportation, logistics, and all of those things need to be taken into account. When you're developing your strategy for who you want to try and attract, some of those companies simply will not locate in this part of the province because of those logistics challenges. So there are other places, though, where you are very uniquely situated and offer a real value proposition for companies to locate. And I think it's appropriate to try and understand where those differences are. Overall, population density and critical mass are challenges. Access to broadband, connecting people. A lot of the comments that I'll make today are around the role of engaging human capital and people in economic development. Given your dispersed population and a low population density across much of Eastern Ontario, that's a challenge.
Thanks, Kim. Allison, do you want to just, I think you can just use that mic. Yeah, and I'm going to set up with my own. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, that doesn't leave me a whole lot to say, but thanks very much for starting off with that. I think that some of the other challenges on a broad basis that we face are thinking about how to cultivate more of a culture of entrepreneurialism within Eastern Ontario. I think that's really important. And I think that what we have to do is recognize as well the strengths that we do have and the things that we have going for us within our communities. I think that there's a lot of really great things going on. And I think that sometimes I was really interested to hear the comment that was made in the previous session, and forgive me, I'm not recalling who made the comment, but there was a session where in a discovery workshop, a group of people got together and they put together a list of their priorities as a group. And when they looked at that list, they realized that the one thing that they had been spending a lot of time and energy focusing on was actually at the very bottom of the list. And that they had not been focusing their attention really where they really wanted to be doing that. And I think that that's an important thing to do, is to really recognize strengths within each community and to deal and to build from those. And I think that that one of the things that I've been learning working with the Knowledge Impact in Society research group, and especially with Craig in the Pella community, is that we have a tendency to use our local connections and our local resources very well, but we aren't perhaps as good at accessing our regional connections and recognizing where something is locally appropriate and where something is regionally appropriate, and scaling our projects accordingly and building on things that make sense within based on the resources that we have within each community. I think that there's also an interesting or an important distinction to be made in terms of what we have available to us within the local, but also